Deep in the shadows, I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is CeeChronicles and I go by that name across all my social media platforms. So do make sure to check out my second channel, CeeChronicles Unscripted. Check me out on Instagram as well as TikTok. On this particular channel, I post fragrance related content. And if you like that style of content and you're not subscribed, kindly do consider subscribing and joining the family. To those who are returning, thank you so much for the continued support. Disclaimer, this is not a sponsored channel, so I rely solely on AdSense. So do kindly make sure not to skip adverts. Alternatively, you can donate to this channel using the PayPal link that I created, which is in the description. All you have to do is click that link and follow prompts, and anything at all that you will donate will go towards the purchases of fragrances on this channel. Now, this video, guys, is going to be about as many Middle Eastern fragrance houses that I could think of, and the fragrances that I can recommend as starter packs from those particular houses. With so many Middle Eastern houses coming, in the market there, it's very hard to know where to start from, especially if you are a newcomer to the Middle Eastern fragrances. This particular video is going to be part one, where I'm going to focus on the fragrances that I'm going to recommend for the women. Part two is coming after this video, and that is going to focus on fragrances for men. But do remember that you do wear what you want. So some of the fragrances that I will recommend here are going to be unisex, and it's not limited to the houses having just these fragrances that I feel smell nice, but I feel they're a starting point. I mean, if you don't know where to start. So house number one is going to be Fragrance World, and these two I feel will not disappoint. Mocha Wood from Fragrance World, guys, is a coffee and chocolate type of combo there with some spices. Beautifully done scent. This one does qualify for unisex, but I thought to add it here as a quick one for those who would like a fragrance that's not going to disappoint from Fragrance World. And if you know, Fragrance World has got about 4 in this collection, so I think it helps to single this particular one out. The next one from Fragrance World is going to be Francique 107.9. Beautiful cherry, smoky, boozy type of fragrance there, sharing a DNA that is very similar to rouge smoking. So if you like that, you're probably going to love Francique 107.9. Also take note, guys, that we have full reviews for these fragrances. So if I seem as though I'm rushing through them, it's because if you want singular reviews, you can always go to my playlist there and click on the house, and you will be able to find singular reviews. The second house I want to talk about here is Lafah, and I did notice that Lafah does seem to be affiliated to Kadash, because Kadash contacted me, and on their mail I did see that Lafah logo there. Now, if you're looking to buy the Lafahs and you're a woman, a good starting point, guys, would be Aura Kiss of Rose. This is a beautiful, thick, sweet and floral there. You're going to get strawberries, you're going to get even raspberries here, apple, crisp apple, beautiful jammy type of fragrance with, of course, yes, that rose, but that rose not being in the forefront. This is a crowd pleasing scent that I cannot see anybody faulting, especially if you're a woman. And then there is Lavish Blush. Okay, Lavish Blush. This particular one is a rosy scent as well. Nice, fresh, rosy scent with a gentle sweetness, not as sweet as Kiss of Rose, but it has its moderate sweetness there, and the DNA feels a lot like that of Azal. So if you love that style of DNA, you're definitely going to love that. Kadash is a company that I'm exploring, and there's going to be a lot of Kadashes coming to this channel, because after I bought Empire Victor, guys, I was just swept off my feet. This is the most beautiful vanilla fragrance I have smelled thus far. Not your typical, like, ordinary vanilla, very complexly done vanilla there. And do take note, guys, that when it comes to Empire Victor, there's 2 renditions to this fragrance. So if you've got an Empire Victor that smells very Middle Eastern, very woody, very smoky there, with an oud doing the most, is probably not this one. Okay, so there is like a remake of this fragrance. Just make sure you've got the right one, and you will thank me later. This does qualify as a unisex fragrance, but I just thought to drop it here for the ladies, who would like to know where to start when it comes to the Kadashes, which is the 4th Middle Eastern house that I have here. The 5th Middle Eastern house is going to be Ajmal. And Ajmal, of course, you would have known that Evoke for her is going to come, right? Remember, I said this is a for her, but some of them can transition to masculine fragrances. I mean, to those who like unisex fragrances. fragrances. This, I cannot believe that this fragrance has been in my face for years, guys. Over 5 years I've been seeing this fragrance, but never thought to pull the trigger until I bought Greasy from Maison Alhambra. And some of you in the comment section said, try the Ajmal one, right? This is their rendition of that jour, and it's such a beautiful rendition of that scent. Mossy, powdery, gorgeous, sophisticated, grown. And now the second one from Ajmal I want to recommend, I do not have physically here, but I smelt it in a duty-free shop and it has haunted me since, right? Musk. That musk, if you know Ajmal has got a creme de la creme line, and they've got like a regular line, and they've got like a regular line. So that musk comes from their creme de la creme line. And how you know it's the creme de la creme is the bottle. Those bottles, I'm yet to see one that costs less than $100. That is the only reason why I don't have musk in my collection. But since I've smelt it, that is the one fragrance I am saving up for. It's a complex musk. It has the inclusion of leather, or tobacco. It has the inclusion of moss, but it's also sweet and powdery and sophisticated. Nothing I've ever smelled before. Just a gorgeous smelling fragrance. So that is the second one I would recommend. But do take note, guys, that one is not going to be on the cheapy side, and there aren't many reviews around that fragrance, and maybe it's because of the price point, or maybe it's because it's still new. I don't know. Another honorable mention here is going to be from the house of Hamidi, which is going to be the 6th house. Hamidi is a house that I just stepped on courtesy of Ajwa, and the one I reviewed was Cleopatra. Now, why I don't have Cleopatra in my collection is there is no stockist around me that has Cleopatra, but I did have, the privilege of sniffing that fragrance when Ajwa came with it, and I did a review of it. It smells very similar to that Creed Camina, and who doesn't want to smell like that fragrance? Beautiful fragrance. So if you're looking for a starting point, I'm not saying some of the Hamidi fragrances are horrible. I'm just saying these are some of the fragrances that you can actually go online and click, or add to cart and click pay, and they will turn up and you won't be disappointed. Now, house number 7, guys, is going to be that of Armaf. Now, if you're looking for one of the best Armafs ever made out there, then this could be a great starting point. Club de Nuit Intense Woman. This intense woman has nothing to do with a regular woman. So if you have that Club de Nuit woman, do not think, by any means, shape or form it's going to smell like this. This is gorgeous. This is sweet. It's spicy. It's rich. It's thick. It's bold. It's loud. It's in your face. It lasts till the next wash. And depending on the number of sprays, if you overspray this, guys, you wouldn't be able to wash it off easily on your clothes. So it's definitely one that's going to be value for money from the house of Armaf. Another Armaf that little is spoken about is this one, Italiano Donna. If you see this fragrance around, because it has been rumored to be discontinued, but if by any chance you find this fragrance, this is not going to disappoint. It does have that candy floss, type of feel to it, crowd pleasing as well, with some similarities to that Dolce and Gabbana Intense Perfume or something like that. It shares some similarities with that, but this is like a thickened version, a more long-lasting version, sweet. So if you like that style of fragrance, you're gonna love that. So those are the two that I can recommend from the house of Armaf, but of course there's a ton out there. I'm just giving you like starting points. The 8th house is gonna be that of Afnan. I don't have that huge of an experience with the house of Afnan. Afnan is a house that I'm gonna tiptoe into, just like I'm trying to do with, I can't even say Ajmal, because I think I've got like 6 Ajmals now. Afnan is again one that, unfortunately, because of the price point, makes it a little bit tricky, to say purchase some fragrances. But this Rare Tiffany is one that I'm going to say, if you're an adventurous person and you like to smell very different, you don't want fragrances that smell like the rest of them. You want a fragrance that's going to take you on an olfactory journey that is complex, that is unusual, an enduring scent, pretty loud. 4 or 5 sprays of this can even potentially choke you out in the heat. Then Rare Tiffany is a good starting point from the house of Afnan. And then on 9th position, guys, we have Alatan. Now, this is another one that I am exploring. And if you follow my channel, you will know that these two were definitely going to come, right? Nadine as well as Watani. Watani has been about the block for a long time. I'm not sure about Nadine. I just came across Nadine, you know, like 6 weeks ago or something like that. So I can't speak for this, but I know this one has been around for a long time. So this is it's going to be pretty easy to find, you know, than maybe the Nadine. This is crowd pleasing with that familiarity to the C DNA, but not exactly as polarizing or as cloying as C. Very likable, a fragrance that my daughter at the age of 16 just fell in love with. And that is not to say it's juvenile. It feels grown, it feels mature, but it has that thing that's going to pacify you and just make you fall in love with it. It's gorgeous. It's got a burst of those fruits and the sweetness and the florals, everything nice going on in Watani. So this is one that could be a very good starting point from the house of Watani. Now the next one is going to be Nadine. Now, confession, this is going to be unisex, but because the dry down is very sweet there, sugar sweet, leaning towards that love, don't be shy, Sintra type of thing, I thought to drop it here, but I think I'm going to drop it on the male list as well, because I feel I shouldn't shortchange the males, because it does start off aromatic, herbal there, very spicy there, even green to a certain extent. So it's going to satisfy both genders. But guys, if at all there's just one Alatan you may want to add to your collection, add this. It will start off strange, but give it time. It's called Nadine, and I'm pretty sure it will not disappoint you. Now, house number 10 is going to be Maison Alhambra. Okay, now Maison Alhambra has been dropping them and dropping them and dropping them, but I just had to zoom onto the two that I feel did not get that much coverage but will not disappoint, right? If you're looking for a beautiful fruity fragrance that's different, I get more of like an orange type of smell in this. It's quite different, and this didn't make the rounds. It's not like you will open YouTube and type Maison Alhambra and you have like 55 reviewers holding this bottle. So if you're looking for a Maison Alhambra that's going to be different, try this one as well as Infinity Elixir. This, you know, in a nutshell, it's a spicy, boozy style of fragrance there, and unique, very nicely smelling there. These are the two that I would recommend from the house of Maison Alhambra. There's going to be a host to choose from, but I thought these two are going to wow you, especially if you're looking for nicely done Middle Eastern fragrances there. Now we move on to house number 11, which is going to be Swiss Arabian. If you have watched my Swiss Arabian fragrance reviews, you will know that I have quite a big Swiss Arabian collection. So it was quite a tricky one zooming onto these two, right? To recommend to you guys, the ladies out there, okay, which is going to be Rose 01 as well as Royal Mystery. Both of these fragrances are built around that rose note, but this is rose and that pear and freesia. Really nicely done fragrance, right? It's going to remind you a lot of that English Pear and Freesia by Jo Malone, but a more intense take to that with like a spicy direction to it. So I just thought to highlight this fragrance, guys. Before I picked this one, I'd actually picked Valencia, and I thought, okay, let me talk about Valencia, but I changed my mind midway and I said, let me put the limelight on this fragrance, because it's another one that I've been seeing for years, but it never dawned on me to even buy it because I never thought much of it. But when it turned out, beautifully smelling combo of that rose, pear and freesia, right? So it's called Royal Mystery. And then there is this Rose 01. Now, Rose 01, I know is probably washed up in the sense that it does have that Delina DNA, and a lot of people will say, oh, we're tired of that DNA. Much as you may be tired of that DNA, this I'm here to recommend for if you want that DNA amplified, right? This is not even at par. I know Delina is polarizing. This, it takes it up a notch, right? So that's why I thought to recommend a Rose 01. These are the two that I can recommend, guys, from the house of Swiss Arabian for the ladies out there. However, given if this video could go on and on, I was obviously going to give you more and more options, because I love the house of Swiss Arabian. I love the quality of the fragrances from the house of Swiss Arabian, but I'm just going to limit it to those two for the ladies. Now we move on to the house of Asaf, which is going to be the 12th house here. Now Asaf has got a lot of beautiful fragrances, and I was actually conflicted as to which ones to bring to you. But I like to bring, fragrances that I know that they're gonna have that wow factor just smelling them, right? Now this one is called Privé Rose, and this is slowly to my nose becoming more and more like that Le Rosé. Okay, I wasn't expecting that at all, because what I was getting here was a DNA that kind of feels like Delina without feeling like Delina sort of thing and stuff. But I think this is just a guess. I think this could be more in line with that PDM's Le Rosé. So if you know that fragrance, you know it's a good fragrance. And this on its own, without comparing to that, is actually a beautiful fragrance. If I'm to show you the dent, I'm not sure if you can see to what extent. Okay, that is where it's at. It's almost halfway. I use the heck out of this fragrance, right? Now the next one from Asaf is going to be this one. And simply because it's another one that little is said about this fragrance, but I feel it's gorgeous. I featured this one with Mimi in the Save or Splurge, and it is one of those fragrances that you just ask yourself, why am I not wearing this fragrance? But of course, in my defense, I'll always say I have a lot of fragrances. Don't sleep on this fragrance. Didn't make the rounds. People didn't it didn't draw that much interest as its maybe counterpart, because they do have underlip, the basic underlip, that one that was likened a lot to what's the name of that one, to I have forgotten, a John Paul Gaultier one. Now this one, guys, is a fruity, floral, bubblegummy type of scent, and if you haven't put your nose on this, you ought to try this. It's just also crowd pleasing, but without feeling like 100 fragrances that you smelled out there. So do try this if you haven't got it in your collection. It's from the House of Asaf, and the House of Asaf is going to be the 12th Middle Eastern house that I thought to include in this video. And then we'll move on to alzafron now. Alzafron has got a lot of fragrances also flying about. But I thought, in all fairness, because some of the DNAs that you will get from alzafron, because it's a subsidiary of Lattafa, and Lattafa also have that Maison alhamra and stuff, there is a likelihood that you will end up getting the same DNA twice. And I, for one, have tried to make sure that I avoid that when it comes to buying, especially the alzafron. So I don't have a lot of alzafron in my collection, but I can talk about the musk collection. Right now, as I'm talking about the musk collection, you will notice that I'm holding this one. This Shalimar Oud is one I thought to just drop here in case you're looking at a fragrance that's going to have that Middle Eastern vibe to it, right? Middle Eastern vibe. It's going to be an induction to your nose to the Middle Eastern style of fragrances. This is built around vanilla. It's got that oud as well. But the reason why it wasn't the first thing that I decided to talk about when it came to alzafron is it does share similarities with Velvet Oud from Lattafa. So I just thought to show you that as an example, that is the reason why I don't have a lot of alzafrons in my collection, because sometimes they just borrow from existing DNAs. But when it comes to this musk, I know Lattafa themselves have got a musk collection, but I can speak of this musk range. This musk range, if you're a woman, if you buy the pomegranate one, if you buy the mango one, if you buy the cotton candy one, these are not going to disappoint. The cotton candy one underwhelmed me when I came with it here, but it has transformed to that cotton candy. I can now get the cotton candy. It is a musk that you can wear on its own. It's a musk that you can wear during at bedtime, but it's also a musk that you can wear to amplify whatever fragrance you have. So there's 4 in this range, and if you want a starting point when it comes to the alzafron, then definitely try their Dubai Itra musk collection. My particular one is called Cotton Candy. And then of course there is the house of F.A. Paris. F.A. Paris happens to be a subsidiary of Fragrance World, and they have dropped a lot of fragrances, including Rose d'Emotions that I reviewed that Ajwa came with. Of course, I will recommend Rose d'Emotions with my eyes closed. If you watch that review, I raved about that fragrance. I don't know why I don't have it, because it is quite accessible, but it's a fragrance that I was just looking at and thinking, maybe it's going to be one of those, Delina smell alike and stuff, but it's not. So that is one that I can recommend from F.A. Paris. But aside from that, if you haven't tried a brush carmine, guys, from F.A. Paris, then you're missing out. do try this. This would be a very good way to put your feet into that F.A. Paris, fragrance company. A brush carmine as well as rose. This is going to be your jammy rose. Not much is spoken about this. Jammy rose with like a smoky tone to it, but not really Middle Eastern, quite sticky there, sweet, beautiful. So these two are both spicy, they're both unusual, they're not going to smell like the rest of the fragrances you've got in your collection. That is why I thought to recommend them. Of course, maybe this one, because there's been a lot of rosy, like jammy rosy renditions out there, but I like the lasting power of this. So you could try these two plus the third honorable mention, which is that Rose the Emotions that I did feature here, that bottle from Ajwa. So that would be a good starting point when it comes to the house of F.A. Paris. And then we've got, of course, the house of our Rehab. Our Rehab has a lot of fragrances, and I have a lot of them here. I've actually featured a lot of those ones in the ugly looking bottles, and it is the bottles from Al Rehab that really are a put off for me. But I noticed that they have stepped up a little bit when it comes to the bottles. They now have kind of like, switched it up a little bit. But the one fragrance, if you want to just put your nose on the Al Rehab fragrances, that's not going to set you back a lot of money, but is going to speak for the quality of some of the fragrances from Al Rehab, is going to be Choco Musk. This, guys, I know the bottle is ugly. For some, it's going to be, it's nice, it's simplistic. Yeah, but I just think this bottle is ugly, guys. But in its defense, in the juice's defense, this is one of the most beautifully done chocolate, vanilla juices in the bottle. This is just going to lift your mood. That is what I like about this fragrance. You can wear it alone, you can layer it, but it doesn't really need a lot of layering. Now, if you feel that this fragrance underperforms, the good thing with Al Rehab is they also have, oils. They offer the alcohol fragrances, and then they offer the oils. So if this one is underperforming for you, just simply buy yourself the oil and this one and then layer them together, and you're going to thank me later. Okay, guys, now we are on to house number 16. We are about to finish. I'm going to finish with the house of Lattafa, and I did this one deliberately because I wanted you guys to stay to the end. If you heard what I said in the beginning, I was going to start with the house of Lattafa, but we always give a lot of limelight to Lattafa here, and sometimes we shortchange some of these houses. Okay, so the 16th house is going to be that of Rave. This is also a subsidiary of Lattafa, but these are the two fragrances that if you're looking at where to start when it comes to the Rave now line, you could start here. This is built around the pineapple, lots of pineapple, sweet pineapple, some spices there. And this one is built around a strawberry, a creamy strawberry, sharing a lot of similarities with that Burberry Her Elixir. You can see my dent here. Let me see if I can, this top just fell off. But if I turn it around, you can see the dent there that I have used this one a lot. So Rave Now Women, which is the pink one, is a recommendation, and Rave Now Black. Both of these fragrances will not let you down, but just make sure you love pineapple when it comes to this one, because it's a little bit too much there on the pineapple side. House number 17 is going to be that of Grandeur. Grandeur is a new house, and I only have two in my collection, but there's a lot to choose from. So there's going to be a lot of other Grandeur fragrances that come here. But I thought to show you this Candy Rose, because most of you in my comment section have been asking about that Born in Roma smell alike. And I find this one very similar to that. So if you are looking at that, or you're looking for something that's going to remind you of that, you can start with this Candy Rose. Very affordable as well. I do have that that London Avenue as well. It's a nice fragrance, but the reason why I didn't bring it here is is very light there to my nose, so it might for some not wow you that much. Okay, and then there is the house of Nabil. Some of the fragrances that I have here I haven't done full reviews of. Nabil, and this one is called Ronak, right? There's about 4 or 5 in this type of bottle. There's 2 cream ones, 1 orange one, and then there's this one. I'm not sure if there's a black one, but I love this one. This I found being the most unique of all of them that I smelled there. This is sweet, it's spicy, it's fruity, it's earthy, it's mossy. It's got a little bit of something that's going to remind you of a Middle Eastern touch there. It's also got some patchouli and that sugar note separately, as well as the tobacco. But it's not like a heavyweight Middle Eastern style of fragrance. It is just something unique. Okay, if you want to smell exotic, this is one that I can definitely recommend. Now, why I bought this one as opposed to the other ones was there is one called Alaina or something like that, the one that comes in a white bottle. That one smelled a lot like Martha to my nose, and I have come across that DNA a gazillion times, and I didn't want to add that, to my collection. Another one called Dana or something like that. I think that one also comes in a white bottle, if I'm not mistaken. That was just a fresh, aromatic, aquatic style of fragrance, so that didn't wow me as much. And then the orange one was like at par with that Baccarat Rouge 540, so I didn't feel I needed to add that. So from this lineup, I think this is where I'm gonna end, and then I will try to add some other Nabils that are in different shaped bottles. And if anything, maybe you could just drop the suggestions there in the comment sections of which other Nabils you think I should start at. But when it comes to this particular range, I found this one more interesting than the rest of them. Okay, from the house of Emper, these are my two recommendations for the ladies, guys. Lady Presidente, a beautiful tropical mango scent that is sweet, very nice and sunny there, sunshine in a bottle, if you will. Definitely one that I would say start at this if you haven't tried this house. Another one that they had dropped recently is this one. This one is called Falling in Love. If you love your fragrances built around that nutty, almondy tone, sweet, floral with the vanilla as well, you are going to love this. It also dries down a little bit musky, and the sweetness in this is not very like toothache sweet. So that is why that is what I love about Falling in Love. So these are the two that I would recommend, guys, from the house of Emper. If you're looking at that house and you're wondering where to start, from the house of Keali, my personal favorite would be Utopia Vanilla Cocoa. But because it has that coconut note that can be a hit or miss for some, I'm just going to throw Vanilla 28 there. So if you're looking at the house of Keali, yes, it is indeed a Middle Eastern house. You can start with Vanilla 28. It has, for now, proven to be a favorite for a lot of people, so it's probably not going to disappoint. Then there is the house of Arabiat. I have just started putting my feet into Arabiat, and I thought blueberry musk is a good starting point, especially if you love your fruity fragrances. That blueberry is going to be distinct in this, not so much the musk, but that blueberry fruity tone to it. Quite a subtle fragrance, so this is not one that I'm going to say buy if you're looking for beastly performing fragrances, but because it's the second Arabiat that I have in my collection, I can recommend this, because out of the two, this one certainly is doing a better job for me. So this is blueberry musk from the house of Arabiat. And then from Paris Corner, guys, I have these two recommendations, and it's not limited to, remember, it's just the ones I feel when they turn up you won't be disappointed. December Vanilla, a fragrance built around that vanilla. It's got, I think, a triple dose of vanilla, this one. I think it's got vanilla at the top, no, double dose of vanilla at the top and at the mid, and it's got the spices and the patchouli, but it's a sophisticated scent, one scent that's not going to smell like 1,000 fragrances that you've smelled on the market. A fragrance that's probably going to surprise you. It does have vanilla there with the patchouli, but they both give each other a chance. Great mix of a fragrance in this. So yes, Paris Corner has got hundreds of them out there, but I can single this one out as a good starter fragrance if you're a lady and you're looking for a fragrance that's not going to disappoint from that house. Now the second one is going to be Bayan Al Asra. This is a new addition to my collection, but I love it, like nonetheless. A lot of you, just like what was happening with the Bonin Roma, a lot of you were looking for something that smells like Guardian, and this one smells a lot like that fragrance, guys. If you love your fragrances built around that floral, almondy tone style of a fragrance, then you're gonna love this. Very unique, very, very beautifully done there, and it doesn't cost as much as what it's purported to smell like. Now the last fragrance house, before the last, let me just put an honorable mention on Arabian Oud. For those who want to spend extra coins, Arabian Oud has got that Madawi 40 years gold edition. ever since I smelled that fragrance up to today, guys, it's a fragrance that I would love to add to my collection, money permitting. The one I reviewed was not mine, it was Ajwa's fragrance, but I will certainly purchase that one from Arabian Oud. And you guys clued me up that they always have discounts, so I'm gonna wait for them to discount that fragrance and possibly grab it as fast as I can. The last house is gonna be that of Lattafa, and if you know, Lattafa drops them as well, on a regular basis, but I had to just zoom it down to 5 or 6 just to make sure that the video is at least decent enough, right? Because of course, when it comes to Lattafa, there's hundreds out there that I could recommend. First one for women that's not going to disappoint, it's going to be Lean, a beautiful grown, a soothing mango fragrance there, mature, as perfect as that sexy date night scent, very elegant there, for that a well put together type of lady, if you know what I mean. And then there's of course Al Nashama. Now this one is the white one. You will know that there is the Al Nashama, the blue one. That one is for men, so I would definitely recommend that one for men. But this, because we're talking about the ones for women, is going to be a spicy, fruity style of fragrance, summer as well, in a bottle, vibes just like that Paragon. So if you like that style of scent, you're going to love that. And for the price, this one definitely does it for me, so it's not going to disappoint as well. Another one from Lattafa is this one. Now, why I have put Sir Al Malika is for those who say, I want a starter Middle Eastern style fragrance from the house of Lattafa. This has got that Middle Eastern vibe because it does have the oud, but the oud in here is tamed. It's not that wild, like loud oud. And then it has the crisp apple, the fruity tone there, something in here that feels very bright and effervescent. So Sir Al Malika is going to be a nice one if you look for a Middle Eastern style of fragrance with those spices, that Middle Eastern vibe. And of course, we can't wrap this up without talking about Eclair, the most gorgeous gourmand Lattafa has given us thus far, built around that Eclair, milk, caramel. If you love that, this is your ultimate gourmand. This one's not going to disappoint. So yes, definitely one to add to your collection. You are not going to be disappointed at all, especially if you love your gourmands, right? Then the second from the last is going to be Camera Kawa. Now, I could have come with the original Camera, but that one leaves some people saying it smells masculine. Now, this rendition of that Camera DNA, this does feel like a continuation of the Camera DNA, has got the subtle Middle Eastern coffee, they say. They say the Middle Eastern coffee is not the coffee that coffees like that French coffee in our rehab. So this is going to be a very subtle coffee with the spices and a little bit of a Middle Eastern tone there, cinnamon doing the most, some dates in there, so very enjoyable. And if you're wondering whether you should start with the Camera or the Kawa, this one is probably going to be the better option for you, Camera Kawa. And then guys, last but not least from the house of Lattafa for women is going to be this one, Nasheed, of course sharing a lot of similarities with that Ani. So it's going to be that Ani at an affordable cost, so why not? Nice spicy rich scent there that I thought to drop. So those are the recommendations, guys, that I have for you from 24 houses. If I am to include the honorable mentions, 24 Middle Eastern houses. I would have loved, to delve into the Rasasis, the Al Haramain and stuff, but I don't personally have those fragrances in my collection, and I'm still building the fragrances, guys. In as much as I have about 400, 500, I still don't have all the houses, so I can only talk about what I have, what I've used, and what I think are the best stepping stones into that Middle Eastern journey, in case you want to switch it up and start adding Middle Eastern fragrances in your collection. CeeChronicles is my name. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's meet in the comment section where you can possibly suggest some of the houses that I didn't bring here and what you feel would be the ideal starter fragrances from those houses that will not disappoint. Remember to turn on post notifications on my channel. That way you get to be notified anytime I upload a video. Like and share this one, and remember that smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.